Hello out there, you're watching everything you need to know about Star Wars the card game. Moving on now to the Rebel Alliance objective sets in the core set. As you can see, we have the same 6 steps that the Jedi have: balance, refresh, draw, deploy, conflict, and force. Our starting reserve is 6. Remember that at the end of your draw phase you should have 6 cards in hand, unless you have a special card or an effect that allows you to have more, or makes you have less. Rebel Alliance, this affiliation card will produce a resource. That resource is good on any card, but if you're playing a Rebel Alliance card and you need a resource match, this resource would satisfy that. We're going to start with our first objective, number 8, the Defense of Yavin 4, and this is a really strong objective set. There's a lot of good stuff in here. We'll go ahead and get to it. The 5-1 that you see here is standard. This objective can take 5 points of objective damage, or blast damage. It produces 1 resource. That's pretty common. It is a Yavin 4 objective, and it has an action here. It's an interrupt. This is something that the Imperial Navy also has. It says, when you play a vehicle unit, discard X cards from your hand to reduce its cost by X to a minimum of 1. So we don't have any vehicles in this objective set that are really strong. We have a couple, but they aren't that expensive. But when you start dealing with things like Redemption, when you start getting into these capital ships, like later we'll look at Home 1 and some things like that, you really want to have as much help as you can being able to afford it. So that's a really useful ability. Let's go ahead and get to the cards. We've got some really good ones here. The first one we have is Red 2, which is obviously an X-Wing pilot who is unique. Red 2 has a resource cost of 3 and is a Rebel Alliance card. 2 force icons there. Does 2 unit damage and 1 edge-enabled blast damage. Is a vehicle and a fighter. Has a reaction here. It says, after an objective is destroyed, remove 1 focus token from this unit. And last but not least, it has a damage capacity of 2, which is good. It's a pretty solid, pretty balanced card overall. It's something you really want to have in an engagement. And the only drawback, of course, is that it is unique. So if you had a second copy of the Defense of Yavin 4 and this card was available to be played, you could not play it if you already had one in place. You'd have to wait until it got knocked out of the combat by taking 2 points of damage. The next fighter we have is YWing. Okay, YWing is, as you can tell, neutral. There's no Rebel Alliance affiliation. It costs 2 resources. This means that you could get the 2 resources from any source. Jedi, Rebel Alliance, Smugglers and Spies, neutral, doesn't matter. It also has 1 force icon, and it has a health of 1, so it can take only 1 damage before it gets blown up. It does 1 blast damage and 1 edge-enabled blast damage. So if you win the edge battle, you can use YWing when you focus to strike and do 2 damage to an objective. It is a vehicle, it is a fighter as well. Next card we're going to look at is Astromech Droid Upgrade. Astromech Droid Upgrade is an enhance. It is an upgrade. It says enhance a vehicle unit. It costs 1 and has 2 force icons if you want to use this in the edge battle instead. It says enhanced unit gains 1 unit damage and 1 blast damage. So just to go back to what we had before, if you were to take Red 2 and enhance it with Astromech Droid Upgrade, then this would suddenly have 3 damage it could deal to 1 unit, and it would have a blast damage. If you won the edge battle, you'd be able to do 2 blast damage. So that's a really important upgrade to have. Next we have Hidden Outpost, because we need to be producing a resource, so here's one. Hidden Outpost costs 1 and it produces a resource, so it immediately pays for itself. It's neutral enhanced, so you don't need to worry about the resource match. It is limited, which means you cannot play more than 1 limited card each turn, and of course you enhance your play area, and this just gives you another resource. So really good. And then finally we have an awesome event. This is one people can't get their hands on enough. Rebel Assault, which is a 2 cost, 1 force icon Rebel Alliance event. For 1 action, it says deal 2 damage to a target enemy unit or objective, limit 1 per turn. It's pretty important they limit that to 1 per turn, because Rebel Assault is one of the most powerful cards that a light side player can play. So once again, that was the Defense of Yavin 4. The 5 cards that we looked at with the Defense of Yavin 4 were Red 2, YWing, Astromech Droid Upgrade, Hidden Outpost, and Rebel Assault. that is the first of our 7 Rebel Alliance objective sets in this game. I hope that this was helpful to you, and until next time, GLHF, and may the Force be with you.